Welcome everyone, Costin here with some actually very good news. If you're a user of the internet, a citizen of the internet, and specifically if you're someone that cares about the situation on YouTube, having content on YouTube and the way things are going, because things have been pretty crappy over the last couple of years, and we've gotten something fairly awful that could really affect not just YouTube, not just sites like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, but also the internet as a whole with the European Union Copyright Directive. The good news in this case is that the United States, Mexico, Canada Act goes in the completely different direction. And here's me to explain exactly what's going on. I have two articles here. One is recent, another one is from 2018. Let's start with that. From Mississauga.com, check it out, link in the description to both these articles. The newly released North American Trade Pact could prevent large websites from having to quickly take down questionable material in what is seen as a potential victory for freedom of speech online. The digital trade provisions in the US-Mexico-Canada agreement include wording that doesn't hold internet companies liable for content posted from third parties like users, essentially arguing the company is not the publisher, just the host. Digital policy expert Michael Geese said such safe harbor rules haven't been part of the Canadian landscape, which is why content like critical, over-the-top restaurant reviews are more swiftly removed in Canada than in the United States. The wording is a first for the North American trading partners and could set the stage for it to be embedded in Canadian law, said Geese, the Canada research chair in Internet and E-commerce law. This is actually a good provision. It helps freedom of expression online. It provides some amount of safe harbor for internet companies that try and do the right thing by removing content in appropriate circumstances, and it's the sort of thing that Canadian law has been missing. The free trade partners heralded the agreement in principle, which is still to be ratified by all involved, as a major step forward to deal with issues that were in their infancy when NAFTA was signed a quarter century ago. And it does go on about data, and I recommend you read the article, but the main point here is about the safe harbor rule. Now, this is more recent from Deadline from December 19th. DGA expresses dismay over new U.S. and Mexico-Canada trade deal's inclusion of copyright safe harbor. As the House was poised to vote on Thursday on a revised U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade deal, the Directors Guild of America expressed dismay that the pact includes a so-called safe harbor that shields internet companies from liability for the third-party content on their sites. The provision in the trade pact, an update to NAFTA, known as USMCA, mirrors Section 512 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That portion of the 1998 law gives internet sites immunity from lawsuits for third-party infringement, as long as they quickly take down pirated content upon notice from the copyright owner. The DGA issued a statement on Thursday saying it was deeply disappointed that the trade deal included safe harbor language. The Guild said that the provision does nothing but provide a free pass from monetary liability to the world's largest tech companies at the expense of our members and countless other middle-class creative professionals across North America. As technology continues to improve, for faster connection, more stolen content will be made available, which is why cementing this outdated safe harbor into an international agreement is ill-fated. And then you have some Democrats, Judy Chu and Rep. and Linda Sanchez, argued against including the provision of future trade deals in a Ways and Means Committee hearing this week. Nancy Pelosi said last week that she would like to have seen another immunity provision mirroring language from Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act excluded from USMCA. I was too late coming in on it, said the provision was a real gift to big tech. Mind you, she is not wrong in what she's saying there. The provision is a gift to big tech, big tech. And the reason is because it shields them from liability for the content that users post on their websites. But understand something here. This is not just about Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or all of them combined. It's about the internet as a whole. It's how every site on the internet operates. So sure, there are financial interests at stake. There is the music industry, the movie industry. But take that first article I linked. Like how restaurant reviews are affected by not having a safe harbor provision in Canada. As a particular example, and it's not something that you think about. Like, certainly I've cared about this issue a great deal. I'm a YouTuber. It certainly affects me in a significant way. I've cared about this issue, or can affect me in a significant way, that is. I've cared about this issue in a fairly big way, and I wouldn't have thought these kind of little things like restaurant reviews. Think of it for a second. If a platform that hosts such reviews is held liable for something along those lines, then that's a pretty big problem, because it means that maybe some of the scathing reviews don't get taken down because they're afraid of being sued or being held liable for those comments. Imagine that kind of situation. And given that so much of the world is connected online so much, if you're a tourist, you go to another country, you're using your phone, you've got Google Maps open, you're looking at reviews of restaurants on Google or whatever device you have, and you're looking through an application at restaurants at various places, and you're determining based on that. That's how a lot of people do things these days, and that's just an example. There's so many things. We depend so much. Even elderly people, I have them in my family. Elderly people who are not particularly keen on modern technology, don't really understand it. They use the internet on a daily basis because they have to, because that's the world we live in. And yet there is a push to screw over the internet in favor of basically the music and music and film industry, because they want the piece of the pie, so to speak. There are two angles here, two big angles exactly over here. One, there is the angle where a lot of lawmakers are pissed off at the big tech companies, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, because of the events of 2016. That is a fact. This is a backlash. You see Democrats, you see Nancy Pelosi herself arguing against this because they're angry at the big tech companies, because they feel they've gotten out of the hand and they want to rein them in. But then you have the financial interests, the film industry, the music industry, who basically have been in court against YouTube, against Google, against Twitter, against Facebook, have been in numerous court cases, especially against YouTube, over their years, and they want the upper hand. They want a bigger piece of the pie. They feel they haven't gotten it. Now, here is the problem with changing the law because of, backlash, because they are changing the law to suit the needs of these companies. But the issue is you're changing the rules that affect everyone. So, for instance, you're using an avatar. Like a lot of people on forums, on websites, use avatars that are based on copyrighted image. For instance, that's an idea. Imagine now, under current laws, under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, under current law, what happens is if a company takes issue with you using their avatar, they can contact the website and they can force them to take them down, but the website in itself doesn't really suffer as long as they comply with that request. They're not liable for it, but they can be held liable if you remove the Safe Harbour provision. And there is a bigger impact with this than just the United States, Canada, and Mexico protected Safe Harbour. No, there's a far bigger issue here at stake. The United States is basically the center of the internet. The rules that are applied in terms of the United States regards to how the internet is governed affect the world far more significantly than in any other country. Even Europe. Europe is a big deal, don't get me wrong. Europe is fairly important. But what happens in America is crucial. So there is a push by people in America to basically do what Europe has been doing. And effectively remove the Safe Harbour provision. Because that's what Europe did. They removed the Safe Harbour provision through the European Union's copyright directive. So now websites are liable for the content that their users host. And that is bloody bullshit. Look, the DMCA is not perfect. It is a relic. It is old. It is outdated. But if the change is going to happen, how about changing it in a positive way for the millions of, billions actually, of people that use the internet on a daily basis, that rely on the internet for various things, for their jobs, for simple directions to drive their car, for all that, changing the internet for the better. Because this is a problem. The internet is a bigger and bigger deal in our daily lives. It's only going to get more so. And yet it is being regulated by laws that are only designed to benefit big corporations at the expense of everyday people. It's like these removing Safe Harbor. Yes, it benefits Facebook. Yes, it benefits Twitter. Yes, it benefits YouTube. Don't get me wrong on that. I'd certainly like rules changed so that they aren't the ones that benefit from, the DMCA and all that. I would certainly like that. But the problem is that the way that the rules are, that the way people want to change the rules would still leave these tech companies with a significant amount of power, and just basically give the movie industry, the film industry, and the music industry strength for us. So this is a big deal that the USMCA protects the safe harbor provision. Now, don't get too excited about this. It is a win. It is a big win. It does codify basically the DMCA. It extends it to Canada and Mexico, and we have. And I hate to say it because I really do dislike him for his, social justice warrior bullshit. But we have apparently Justin Trudeau to thank for this, because apparently the Canadians were the ones that really wanted this to be included. Apparently, that's what I've read. I'm not entirely certain. There's a lack of information on this. It's difficult to get accurate, clear information on this kind of stuff. It's not necessarily the kind of stuff that the mainstream media wants to talk about, but it is stuff that does affect our daily lives. So here we have a fairly significant and positive step, and we have Justin Trudeau to thank for it. And I guess the Trump administration for basically saying, yeah, NAFTA needs to go, right? So, hey, take your pick your poison, decide who you prefer. And it is a positive step that this is happening. Now, I'd want more. I'd want things to go down differently. I'd want for what I consume on the internet, what is allowed and what isn't allowed, to not be dictated by Facebook, Twitter, and Google. I think that would be a significant step. But but removing Safe Harbor would be going in the wrong direction. So, whereas Europe is depriving its people of their rights on the internet, America, Canada, and Mexico have gone in the completely different direction. Costini here, signing out. Hope this was informative for those of you that have watched and may not know about this, or even if you do know, hope this was useful to you. Signing out. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications.